It's our COVID safety device. Yeah, shit happens. We're live.
Hi, everybody. I was just admiring this piece of yellow tape and thinking we really just need to wrap Victoria in one of these, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't that just solve all of our problems?
There's plenty of that at the border.
Unfortunately, no one's actually been watching it, listening, or utilising it.
Oh, there you go. Look out. Caution. It's that time. Joining me in the studio now, our special guest of the week, Madeline West. Welcome to Byron Bay Live and Into the Unknown.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much for having me. Don't tell me we're going into the unknown.
That's it.
I don't think I'm ready for that. I'm an actor. I need a script if I'm going to function.
Get the seatbelts on, strap in. This is where we're going, into the unknown. We don't know what
let's
we're doing.
do it.
We're making up as we go along.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Madeline. I'm good, yes.
Show's going very smoothly. So who was that playing before?
That was Ziggy Alberts, actually, and that was from 2018. We had another clip from 2015, but that was Ziggy Alberts from a couple of years ago.
Fantastic. It was a good year. Fine vintage.
Yes.
Splendour in the,
yes.
in the grass, 2018.
And that was on the Global Village stage, the world stage there.
Of course.
Yeah, yeah. So big shout out to the Global Village team and all the Splendour crew. Which would normally be setting up right now.
I know, but I'm looking forward to Splendour in the past.
Yes.
I think a bit of Gang of Youths were incredible last year, 2019. So I wouldn't mind tuning into a bit of that again.
Yeah, it's going to be some good stuff, Triple J. Yeah, yeah. We might have a special thing going on here as well, but yet to...
We don't want to plan ahead, remember?
Yeah,
we're going into the unknown.
Right.
No seatbelts.
So, Madeline, thanks for coming to the studios.
Pleasure.
You're obviously more comfortable in front of cameras than I am.
I just pretend they're not there.
You've done some
stuff.
stuff.
That's the key, Sean. It's not there.
And by all accounts, really, you probably shouldn't be here or couldn't have been here by all accounts.
Oh, that's nice. You invited me.
No,
okay.
I mean,
it's a metaphor.
Yes, there you go. There's not many people that will tangle with a bus and come away.
This is true. This is true.
And for most of some of you out there who's not familiar with Madeline's story, you took on a bus in Sydney.
I did. It was 18 years ago. This month, actually, I was hit by a bus in Oxford Street in Sydney in the head. Which my favourite joke is I've always wanted to be the kind of girl who stops traffic, just preferably not with my face. Bang. But I did. I was standing on the pavement next to a bus stop, and it hit me at speed on the left side of my on the left side of my face, threw me a couple of feet, and I skidded along on the ground and picked up a bit of chewing gum and some scraps of dirt and gravel. So I suffered 3 skull fractures, cerebral hematoma, several cerebral hemorrhages. I lost all that side of my face. I had a crush injury, which means I've just got a very tight eyebrow. Looks like I've been constantly Botoxed just to the one side of my head. I had an acquired brain injury, which took a lot of therapy, lost my gross motor skills, etc., etc., etc. So there were some definite physical repercussions, but for me, and I think it's a sad indictment on the world we live in, the thing that shattered me the most was the effect it had on my appearance, because I was all of 22 at the time, 21 going on 22, young actor starting out her career, and really thought, well, that's it, my life's over. Everything that I've worked so hard for is gone because I no longer look perfect. And there is no such thing as perfect. So I had to take a really long, hard look at myself following the accident and question why did I become an actor in the first place. And it was to be a storyteller. It wasn't to be on the cover of TV Week in a bikini. So once I accepted that, it changed the direction of my life. But I think one aspect that I never really dealt with was that I had PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder from the bus accident. I hated being in scenarios where there was speeding cars, where there was a lot of traffic, and it was becoming more and more prevalent. So 2 weeks ago, I went down to Sydney and I went back to the same bus stop, and I stood there for 4.5 hours and watched 52 buses go past until I felt, and I was an absolute mess, Sean. I was huddled on the ground.
Not surprised.
Weeping, snotty, doing the whole catastrophe like a tantruming child. But that kind of exposure therapy makes you face your fears, and it taught me something very important, that is that if you are prepared to face your fears, it sets you free. And life-changing experiences happen for a reason, because they have the power to change your life if you'll let them and if you're brave enough to do that. And that experience is what inspired me to create my podcast, which comes out next week.
Yes, which segues beautifully into...
Love a good segue.
your presence here is a part of our journey here at Byron Bay Live. Is we've flipped around from being a production company to being a studio, recording studio, and streaming studio and podcast studio.
Absolutely, and exceptionally impressive for someone like me who is a complete techno philistine. If I can send an email with an attachment, it's a good day. I don't even really know how to charge an iPad, let alone record a podcast. So I was very lucky to meet you guys. You gave me the equipment, showed me what to do, pretty much gave me a dummy's guide to podcasting, and here we are. It's been picked up by Nova and will be streaming nationally next week.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And congratulations and thanks to our team, Kevin, Michael and Odin.
Especially
who have been
Odin. Odin comes out to the field with me. He puts up with my stupid questions. He forgives me when I press buttons and erase critical material, most of which doesn't belong to me, but that's not the point. So a big thank you to all of you who've made it possible.
Yeah. Well done, team. Well done. And that's fantastic. So you've been backed and supported by Nova, and they're promoting the podcast. And it's a series, the first series.
It's called Invisible Heroes. And it's basically, and a lot of the people I interview are local characters, local figures in the Byron Shire, who are doing meaningful things to help change the world. I'd love to say we're at the end of a period of extreme crises, but the reality is we're very much amidst the crises. We're very much amidst the apocalypse still, and that's the theme of the podcast. It's about investigating people who are just ordinary. You won't see them on the cover of magazines. You won't see them on TV shows. They're just doing what they do, but their stories are incredible, very powerful, and they are in a truly meaningful way striving to make a better world from behind the scenes just by thinking outside the box. So I can't wait for listeners to meet them, and I'm so very proud that the Byron Shire is creating such incredible people who are really giving back, and now is the time to do it. That our world is possibly, we've got two very clear choices, and that is we create a new social order right now that mandates kindness, authenticity, and a preparedness to give back, not just to our communities, our cultures, but to the environment at large, or we are just, it's pretty much the end of mankind otherwise. I think that the crises that have happened, one on top of another, they all have a very strong purpose, and that is to give us a shake-up. And if we're not prepared to listen now and start having those important conversations, how to make a better world, we don't deserve to be here anymore.
Absolutely. Yep, step up and
God, that was deep.
It was. But awesome. Because you're right. If we're gonna do it, let's do it. Let's change it.
We need to do it together.
And it's a good time to change it.
It's not a matter of sequestering certain members of the community. It's not about isolating ourselves. It's not about either condoning everything that our politicians tell us to do or rebelling against it. It's actually working as a collective. We have enormous power when we work together. And I think that has been demonstrated in some of the rallies we've seen recently, in the incredible reaction that Black Lives Matter engendered, and the way, particularly in this community, people work to get things done. One of my interviewees is the beautiful Lasira Kai, who she coordinates at the Mullum Neighbourhood Centre. She's been in that space for 30 years, and the way she manages to pull people together, no matter how great the disaster, how catastrophic, how impossible the odds seem, she manages to get people fed. She gets people with a roof over their heads, and she lets people know that no matter how hard your life is, we all have a light. And it's just finding the right opportunity to let that light shine. And it's stories like that that have relevance. I don't want to hear about Hollywood movie stars. I don't want to hear about the guy on his yacht. I don't want to hear about the next person who's traipsing up Everest. I want to hear about the person in my backyard who is making a difference for the environment, for the world, for the future of my children and their children and their children. That's a legacy. That's how... I'm going to give you my little mantra here, and it's this, and then I'm going to get out of your hair. I think the key to our evolution, mankind's evolution, is when man is kind, and we've forgotten that. And the Byron Shire is one of those communities who practices that every day, kindness. A little bit of kindness goes a long way.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much. That's beautiful advice and in part of wonderful sentiments. Thank you. I know we can't go into too much detail, but with the podcast, you've got a number of different people you've spoken to in the podcast. Can you talk about some of the other, just briefly, the other people that you've interviewed?
So the first one is me actually giving a really candid account of the bus accident and what it's like to suffer acquired brain injury, which is something that carries an enormous stigma, especially when you have a profile or you're known. For a long time, I was encouraged to not discuss it because it would be interpreted as me being in some way deficit. I embrace it. It's made me find alternate routes to get the job done, and I think that's really important. We're in that kind of age now where we need to find different ways to do what we need to do. The second interview was a very, very difficult one with an Australian federal police officer who works in the sphere of human trafficking, particularly child exploitation, cybercrime and sex slavery. And some of her revelations left me an absolute mess, Sean, because it's happening here in Australia. And for some reason we don't seem to know about it or give it the kind of acknowledgement it needs. As I mentioned, I speak to Lacera Kai. I speak to the incredible Indigenous artist Tony Albert, who's won pretty much every award that's going, but really has his finger on the zeitgeist in terms of what it means to be an Indigenous artist, to be an artist at large, and to be an Australian, what it truly means to be welcoming here in Australia. Also, I speak to the founder of the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre.
And you are also an advocate.
I am. The thing that I suppose this podcast stands apart because the people I've spoken to, I've made an effort to work alongside them, or it's something that I've been drawn to. Anyway, I've worked solidly in the philanthropic sphere and for environmental causes for a number of years now. And it's often very hard for small operations to get their voice heard. And I have a platform. I'm very lucky to have that, and I have a voice, and I think when you have those opportunities, you have a responsibility to ensure that those who truly have something meaningful to say get heard. So if I can use my platform to elevate the voices of those who are making a difference, then I will.
Fantastic. And that's fantastic. Well done. And so that's out on...
Starts on the 27th of July. So if you go to Spotify right now, and it's slowly going on to all the different platforms, you can look it up. It's called Invisible Heroes. And it will be on a podcast app near you very soon. How is that for a bit of marketing?
That's fantastic.
I've got no idea what I'm talking about.
Perfect. Well done. Thank you. So, buses, look out. If you want to take on this girl, look out. Everyone, my nan, everyone's nan says, make sure you've got clean underwear on. You might get hit by a bus. I think the solution is just to never wear underwear. I live and die by that to this very day. And the other amazing thing was you got robbed while you were down and out.
How's that? So I'm lying in a gutter with my face completely decimated and someone stole my wallet. Only in Oxford Street. So I was delivered to the hospital, and amnesiac Jane Doe, they didn't actually know who I was. And it was only by happenstance that I was up there to host a kids helpline charity, and when I didn't rock up to the sound check, they called my agent and he called Neighbours. This is back when I was working on Neighbours. I'd just flown up from set, and they said, no, she was on the plane. So he did a ring around of the police stations and the hospitals, and St Vincent said, oh, yeah, well, we've got a Jane Doe who matches that description. She's been hit by a bus. And there you go. The rest is history. Wow.
Well, there you go. You survived and onto a whole different journey and a great story.
Well, I think if you believe in yourself, and it's not easy to do that in this climate, but if you strive to be the best version of yourself that you can be, then nothing can stop you, not even a bus.
Boom. All right. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio and coming in as our guest this week. Hopefully you'll come back and tell us more about...
absolutely. There's so many buttons in here for me to press, and again, erase material that I shouldn't. You can't keep me away, Sean.
Look out, guys. Look out. Don't let it touch stuff. Just give it a recorder.
I think they already know. They've learned through experience.
I'll just give you the microphone, wind you up, and just send you out there and come back with the stories.
That's the plan.
What a blessing. Thank you. Look, stick around. I'm going to need some help with this one. I think we're going to Nana Kath's table. All right. This week on Nanakath's Table, thanks for helping me out.
Shameless product promotion
yes.
here, 101.
Absolutely. This is from Jules Hunt. She's got a shop in Brigantine Street in the Byron Industrial Estate. Jules is a wonderful artist, ceramicist, and you might see some of her work down at the Byron, the Elements of Byron Resort. All the stainless steel work, all that's all her work. This is some of her ceramics here. You can see the work. Also, some of the large
beautiful.
carved eggs and that kind of thing. Got some. There's a book of some of her work here. You can see some of her beautiful work here. Hang on, just put this down. Talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, look at that.
Just gorgeous. It's like a modern version of a Fabergé egg.
Yeah. Just beautiful work. But Jules has kind of done a bit of a 90-degree turn, 180, and she's kind of taking a little bit of a break from the ceramics, but taken the colours and her designs and started creating leggings and skirts.
Workout gear,
and just beautiful designs. And these cushions here, also from her designs.
Now you were telling me about the filling, Sean. What is the filling made of?
It's Jules is using this is all Australian fabric, and the filling is Australian, and it's made in Australia. It's from recycled water bottles.
Hang on a minute.
Recycled water bottles,
What?
yes.
That warranted a double take.
Yeah, beautiful. And she's also done upholstery material out of her designs as well.
I just love that this is wearable art and it's made from Lycra. And for all the parents out there, Lycra is a godsend, even if you're not going to go to the gym, because you'll never see me step foot in one, because you can wipe it down. And it's got a print, which means it hides a whole lot of stains. Just, it's your perfect Mother's Day gift right there. Odin's laughing at me.
Whenever it comes time for gifts, I'm always around her shop. That's like Christmas gifts, everything. Yeah, and these are some of her skirts here. This is I love the patterns on this. Beautiful
and
work.
These materials, they're all made from like recyclable products.
Her new range is going to be made out of the recycled water bottles as well.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, eco fabric and beautiful to wear. Really beautiful to wear. It's just fantastic. Not that I've worn it, but I'm told it's beautiful. I don't think I look that good.
No, you were too busy wearing the fishnets and the stilettos, but that's another sort of story, Sean.
I thought we were going to keep that. I thought we were going to keep that private.
This is the kind of stories the world needs to hear.
I don't think so. Jules Hunt in Brigantine Street, Honey Hunt and her work, and she's working with her daughter as well. So go and check her out. Go and support it. This show is all about supporting your local artists and your friends, your performers, everyone. Let's support each other in this region, and we'll all get on and have it and survive.
We are a collective.
If we all support each other, don't go into the big chains. Go and support your local artists and producers. And
don't go to Melbourne.
Yeah.
Or if you do, don't come back.
Well,
I say that with love.
We're up to next. Odin, what do we? I've lost my run sheet. Yes. Okay. So we're going to jump into Dylan from Star Stuff is coming up next. But we must have a video or an intro to play. I would not be surprised.